Hello, welcome. Happy Friday. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. In our top story, Hurricane Matthew continues on its track along the East Coast after devastating Caribbean island nations, causing hundreds upon hundreds of deaths and destroying infrastructures. The U.S. Virgin Islands and neighboring islands have been spared from the destruction, but in the next few days, we might see Matthew's effects in the lifeblood of VI economy. Tourism. News 2's April Knight has more.
The USVI may have avoided a direct hit from Hurricane Matthew, but one of the deadliest storms in recent Caribbean history is still affecting the territory.
It becomes a ripple effect as each of the airlines either cancel flights or the airports themselves shut down. You know the rebooking process if you've traveled. Your flight gets canceled today, but by the time they can bring you back down here, it could be 3 or 4 days from now.
At this point, USVI Hotel and Tourism Association President Lisa Hamilton is cautious about predicting the effects of the flight cancellations on local hotels.
As soon as we go back to normal, a few days after the assessments are done and the airplanes are back in the air and people are rebooked, and at that point, then you will do your assessment. There are some hotels, yesterday for instance, that had a couple of cancellations because the people couldn't get in. However, 10 to 12 people couldn't get out. So they ended up on the positive end of that, but it doesn't always happen like that.
And while the risk is minimal, supplies being shipped to the Virgin Islands might also get delayed, affecting local businesses, including hotels and retailers.
There was a concern when the shipping channels, they shut them down actually as of Wednesday. So, and then we had the storm yesterday. So you've got 2 days of the shipping channels being down, so we're waiting to see the impact of that as well for food supplies coming in and etc.
6 major cruise ports also closed in Florida on Wednesday, affecting thousands of passengers. With Hurricane Matthew moving at a very slow pace and with some models forecasting it to circle back to Florida and the Bahamas, it may be a while before we get a comprehensive assessment of its effects on flights and local tourism. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
And speaking of airlines, you are urged to contact American Airlines to check flight schedules. Any changes at 1-800-433-7300 or Spirit Airline at 801-401-2222. Meanwhile, Delegate Stacey Plaskett has released a statement on Hurricane Matthew. The delegate sends thoughts and prayers to those affected. She also said she has been in contact with the U.S. State Department, which is currently assessing the situation. She is also working with large Caribbean constituencies, she said, to ensure that assistance is ready and available once a need assessment is complete. According to Plaskett, she is deeply concerned with Haiti's plight in particular and will work with Congress to support the country's economic development and political stability. Well, over 800 people have been killed since Matthew made landfall in Haiti as a Category 4 hurricane, and officials in the country warned that death toll will likely rise. Haiti had only just begun rebuilding from a devastating earthquake 6 years ago when Hurricane Matthew tore through the small Caribbean nation. Some of the VI are already doing what they can to lend a hand. Here's more. Once again, much of Haiti is a disaster zone, with powerful Matthew shredding homes and engulfing communities in knee-deep water that is taking time to recede. Hundreds have been killed since Matthew made landfall in Haiti as a Category 4 hurricane. Even President Barack Obama had declared a state of emergency.
We know that hundreds of people have lost their lives and that there's been severe property damage, and they're going to need help rebuilding. So I would ask all Americans to go to the American Red Cross and other philanthropic agencies to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to help people in need.
Meanwhile, some community groups in the VI have already partnered to help with relief efforts.
Every disaster that happened in Haiti, it could have been us. And so I always thought that if we give to others, folks will give back to us. I was one of the first respondent on the earthquake, and we have several missions over in Haiti also. So I thought, hey, instead of waiting for them to call, we can start the process.
This all came together with CAPA, Smith Bay, and East End Rotary, and also the churches got involved as well. We provided the trailer for them to be able to move the goods back and forth.
We're gonna have a trailer set up out here in Tutu Park Mall parking lot, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday from 2 o'clock until 6 o'clock. So we will have it there. We will be there to accept the cargo or whatever it is that they have and donation to make sure that we can get it sent over and clear when it gets to Haiti.
It's always important to give back to the community and those who need.
Again, that is Saturday, Sunday, and Monday from 2 to 6 p.m. at Tutu Park Mall. Monetary assistance can be mailed to Paradise Covenant Ministries, and they say all money will be sent directly to Haiti for relief efforts. In other news, on October 6, 2016, 44-year-old Christopher Gagnon was arrested and charged with third-degree assault, domestic violence in connection with an incident that occurred on September 29th. Here's more.
The victim stated that he was at his residence when Mr. Gagnon, whom he was involved with, started arguing with him. During the argument, Mr. Gagnon went into the kitchen, came back with a knife in his hand. The victim indicated that Mr. Gagnon placed the knife up against his face and told him that he's going to do what he says. The victim further explained that he got up and walked away to the door and told Mr. Gagnon to get out and don't come back. Mr. Gagnon then lifted his hand and stuck the knife into the victim's stomach. The victim sustained injury to his stomach and was taken into surgery.
Hurricane Matthew churning along Florida's East Coast Friday, turning back to the hurricane news with more than 100-mile-per-hour winds. And as parts of the Sunshine State is still bracing for impact, Georgia and the Carolinas are preparing for what's to come of Matthew this weekend. Diane Gallagher reports.
Fierce winds, gushing waters, and flying debris. Hurricane Matthew whipped Central Florida's coast Friday morning, battering areas like Daytona Beach and St. Augustine with more than 100-mile-per-hour winds. And as northeastern Florida now braces for impact,
we're very focused on Jacksonville. There's potential for significant flooding there.
Coastal communities in Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina are also on notice as Hurricane Matthew continues on its path.
Storm force winds that are affecting the state of Georgia and will continue to do so, we're told, for about the next 24 hours.
It is getting worse, and so we are looking at major storm surges. We're looking at major winds.
The greatest impact in North Carolina will be Saturday through Sunday morning.
President Obama is urging residents in those areas to be on guard.
Those of you who live in Georgia, I think, should be paying attention because there's been a lot of emphasis on Florida, but this thing is going to keep on moving north through Florida into South Carolina. There are large population centers there that could be vulnerable.
I'm Diane Gallagher in Jacksonville reporting.
Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. And there are your numbers. The Dow, NASDAQ, S&P down. The Dow 28, NASDAQ 14, S&P 500 also down at 7. Coming up on News 2, we'll have an update on Seaview Nursing Home and what's on and what's not. Anything canceled this weekend due to the weather? We'll have an update. Nice shot there from St. Croix. Well, as we reported, the Senate Health and Hospitals Committee met on Thursday to discuss Seaview Nursing Home's predicament. The hearing comes after the highly publicized removal of patients from Seaview last Monday. DHS Commissioner Anita Barnes defended her decision to immediately evacuate the patients, and Attorney General Claude Walker chimed in on the problem. News 2's April Knight has an update.
The Senate Health and Hospitals hearing on Thursday shed more light on the circumstances surrounding the abrupt removal of patients from Seaview last week. The core issue seemed to be misunderstanding.
Simplistically speaking, HUD give you the blessings or the okay to move these patients, and that's what you're going to put on the record.
That is what I'm putting on the record, and I have my team who was on that conference call.
Upon questioning Anita Roberts, the acting commissioner of the Department of Human Services said that last week, Monday, she was given an extension by Housing and Urban Development on the timeline for removing the patients and residents.
I asked on a rolling basis that that be granted. Yes.
And HUD said to you on Monday?
Yes.
But you still moved the patients?
Yes.
But Attorney General Claude Walker said the impending transfer of the patients did not just start last week with the HUD letter.
It's not simply the HUD letter. You have to go back to July 30th of this year when all of the federal funding from CMS ended and that facility was decertified.
Moving forward, families of residents will be given the option to take their loved ones into their own care, transfer them to Queen Louise Home on St. Thomas or to Herbert Grigg Home on St. Croix. But at least one of these options is on a first-come, first-served basis. St. Thomas residents also balk at the idea of sending their loved ones to the Big Island. But Governor Kenneth Mapp already made it clear that residents cannot stay in the unlicensed facility. He did say that current residents of Seaview would have first preference to return once the facility gets back its certification. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
The Julius E. Sprouse School in St. John, they received eco-friendly AC units from Mitsubishi Electric during the summer under the Cool the School campaign, which is organized by the Islands Green Living Association of St. John. School administrators and students held an assembly on Wednesday, October 5th in the newly chilled cafeteria. Mitsubishi Electric funneled approximately $35,000 worth of air conditioning units into the Cruz-based school. Mitsubishi Electric representatives gave a brief presentation and handed out prizes. Alice Kroll, who is the project manager with IGLA, began the Cool the School effort 8 months ago. Kroll and IGLA, they have plans to secure more local and corporate funds to introduce Cool the School to other schools. Virgin Islands Puerto Rico Friendship Parade, that's Sunday, October 9th. The Virgin Islands Police Department, they're advising the motoring public of the following parking restrictions and street closings scheduled for the VI Puerto Rico Friendship Parade, which will traverse through the town of Christiansted. Here are the parking restrictions, effective Sunday, October 9th, from 4 a.m. until the completion of the events. No parking on King Street and Hospital Street. You can be ticketed and or towed at your expense. Innovative business offices will be open on Monday, October 10th, Columbus Day. The innovative business offices are located, of course, at Estate Diamond on St. Croix, Tutu Park Mall on St. Thomas, and the Marketplace in St. John. Innovative wireless locations at Estate Diamond and Plaza Extra West on St. Croix and Tutu Park on St. Thomas will also be open, again, October 10th, Monday, Columbus Day. A reading festival is scheduled for this Saturday, and this is part of the Hispanic Heritage Month activities from 10 a.m. to noon at the Lorraine Chicken Shack. Books and giveaways in store. Children are invited to read. Senator Nellie Rivera O'Reilly will read to students as well, all in an effort to celebrate the magic of reading as well as Hispanic Heritage Month. Senator Myron Jackson, who's the chair of the Committee on Culture, Historic Preservation, Youth and Recreation, they're encouraging the community to continue to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month and Virgin Islands Puerto Rico Friendship Day activities throughout the territory. Virgin Islands Puerto Rico Friendship Day was enacted on February 20th, 1964 through Bill number 2019, Act number 1075. A ceremony is also being planned, he says, to commemorate the historic ties between the people of the Virgin Islands and those of Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, to include raising a 50-year-old Virgin Islands flag bestowed during a recent trip to Cuba upon the territory's people at a ceremony on the Capitol grounds of the legislature before the end of the month. Now on St. Croix and St. Thomas, we have some events in store. At 6 p.m., the opening of the VIPR Friendship Village. 1 p.m. on Sunday, the Grand Friendship Parade from Bassin Triangle to DC Canagator Park. Noon on Monday, it's the VIPR Friendship Day in the Boardwalk. Now on St. Thomas, 6 p.m. tonight kicked off the photo explosion at the VI Council on the Arts Gallery. 6 p.m. Saturday, we have the Humanities Exposition at Ease Garden Tea House. 7 p.m. Monday, Guatique Ballet at the Rycole. Don't forget the hair and barber competition, designer, fashion show, and comedy show all underway this weekend. Hair and Fashion Week kicked off at Marriott's at 7:30 with a VIP party by Bernays from California on Thursday. Now tonight it's the comedy show at 7:30 featuring Scruncho Lance Woods. And then Sunday is the Hair and Fashion Show at 6:30 p.m., all at the Marriott's. Bernays has revolutionized the industry with their cutting and coloring techniques. You don't want to miss that. Well, due to airport closures from the impacts of Hurricane Matthew and Tropical Storm Nicole, the Brandy performance, which was scheduled for Saturday, October 8th, has been rescheduled for Saturday, October 15th. Since emerging with her 3-time platinum self-titled debut album in 1994, released when Brandy was only 15 years old, the trailblazing pioneer has sold over 40 million albums worldwide, with 5 studio albums to her name. So be sure to check that out. Next weekend, we'll have more on that. Well, just a quick note, the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses invite the public of St. Croix to a one-day program based on the Bible to Let be held at the Assembly Hall at Jehovah's Witness in North Carlton, Frederickstead on Saturday, October 8th and Sunday, October 9th. The program on Saturday will be in Spanish and Sundays in English. Both programs start at 9:30 with a lunch break at noon, and entrance is free. So be sure to check that out. Stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast comes your way next.
Upper-level trough remains across the eastern Caribbean, but the significant story remains well to our north, where we are actually dealing with Matthew and Nicole. That is causing for conditions to deteriorate, especially with Matthew. That is actually making an impact across southeastern areas of the U.S. Now, for us here in the Virgin Islands, we're looking at relatively quiet weather conditions here. Just a couple of scattered activity in the area as we continue throughout the weekend, but for the most part, a couple of spotty showers with patches of clouds here as we wrap things up. Your current satellite up to down to the south across the windwards is where we see more in the way of wet weather. So for us tonight, a shower or two in the area. Temperatures will be back down to 80 degrees. So relatively mild conditions. We take you into the day tomorrow, 89 degrees. Forecasted to be your afternoon high here in St. John's, a shower or two in the forecast. Very similar conditions in St. Thomas under partly sunny skies. Temperatures expected to approach 90 degrees, 87 for your Saturday afternoon in St. Croix with a few showers in the vicinity. Doing some boating. Well, marine forecast in the Atlantic, waves anywhere between 3 to 5 feet with that easterly winds anywhere between 7 to 14 knots, and quite similar on the Caribbean side, although the waves will be 2 to 4 feet with winds out of the east 7 to 14 knots. Your extended outlook here. As we head into Sunday, we do have a shower or two in the forecast. Temperatures will remain in the upper 80s. Now, as we take you into Monday and Tuesday, we will see the increase in moisture, the increase in activity. So we are forecasting the chance to see showers and thunderstorms. So doing any outdoor activities, make sure to grab the wet gear just in case you get caught in some of the showers and storms forecasted once again Monday and into Tuesday. But then it'll slowly begin to calm down as we take you into the middle of the week on Wednesday. Just a shower or two, if that, passing in nature, not talking about anything too significant as we take you into midweek. Sandy, let's send things back to you.
Thanks for that. Have a wonderful weekend. Let's take a look at our weather picture, our kitty picture there by Cecile Hector of LCR Community Learning Center. Some typical VI weather there. Cool, calm conditions with sunshine. Cecile, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Or Cecil, if I'm not saying that correctly. Send us your news weather picture to the address on the screen. Be sure to include all the information we need and tune in to see it right here on News 2. Stick around, there's more straight ahead. News 2 Sports is coming up.
I'm Gary Anthony, and this is News 2 Sports. The ALDS is underway. After crushing the Texas Rangers 10-1 last night, the Toronto Blue Jays look to go up 2-0 this afternoon. Top second, Yu Darvish on the mound, and Troy Tulowitzki blast a 2-run dinger. 2-zip Jays. Top 5, Jays up 2-1, and the Jays go batty. Kevin Pillar, Ezekiel Carrera, and Edwin Encarnacion slam solo home runs to put the Jays up 5-1, and they go on to win 5-3. So they go back up to Toronto up 2-0 in the best-of-5 series. Week 4 in the NFL got off to a staggering start last night as the Arizona Cardinals visited the city by the bay to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Both teams were 1-3, the loser digging a very, very big hole. Off to San Francisco we go. Second quarter, and Niners QB Blaine Gabbert with the TD pass to Jeremy Curley. And that's your lone 49ers highlight. Still the second quarter, Cards QB Drew Stanton in for concussed Carson Palmer with the strike to Larry Fitzgerald. Game tied at 7. Third quarter, David Johnson on the 4-yard TD run, 14-7 Cards. Still the third, Stanton to Fitzgerald on a 29-yard strike, 21-7 Cards, and they go on to win 33-21. Sticking to the NFL, in a game that can be seen on TV2 Sunday at 4:25, the Bills head to L.A. to face the surprising L.A. Rams. Fresh off the 16-0 beatdown they laid on the Pats, the Bills are 2-0 and playing tremendous defense. The Rams are an even more surprising 3-1, tied atop the NFC West. Like the Bills, it's their defense that really plays well. I like the Rams to win this game. That's it for sports. Sandy, back to you.
Thanks for that, Gary. We are ready to kick off the weekend. We'd like to thank you for joining us for all the latest in news, weather, and sports. On behalf of all of us, have a wonderful weekend. We will see you on Monday.